Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing on this May the 28th noontime daily cryptocurrency and the blockchain XRP gold and silver bullion update on this one of our last days of meteorological spring, and yet again very seasonably chilly with overcast breezy northwest winds of 20 miles an hour with a current temperature of 53 degrees J from just north of downtown Detroit inside the mobile compound in the great state of Michigan, right? We ask you to bell notification, comment down below, like the channel, and share to get that truth, trust, education, and information that is there specifically for the retail trader and investor. And that's why we started this channel, to look out for you. And if we look at the Bitcoin price, you'll notice that the advertising that we still don't want is there, but you're going to notice some lines in here. And this is something that I'm bringing back on here that we used to have on here. And this is our industry best and exclusive analogs that we use on the price to try to figure out where the price is going to go. And you can see, and this is how we get, and usually I don't have it on the screen, I just have it dot out in the background. But this is what helps us form our tracks. And this is what allowed us to know there was going to be a bounce coming, right? Too. Along with most of the 90% of the other stuff, but this is just something that confirms it, right? You can see we had one that was sitting down here in the Bitcoin price that went as low on this initial downturn as, I like that purple, as the initial downturn right here, down there, right? You've seen how low it came, about 62 to 68. But the other one was sitting right here beautifully. It came down to the $74,000 major area of resistance, right? Or support. And you can see all three of them here. You can see we got a green, a purple, and a blue. Bounced and rode up into this rising channel. They don't all go to the same level, but they all were in there. You can see it riding within this channel, and you can see the light blue actually went the highest up here at $138,900 out here in June, right? The end of next month. So we'll see if that plays out. I am not forecasting that to play out, but we did have a top end potential of up here of 118,000 and change based on a technical target that was built off of down here where we had got to go into the daily time frame, where we had our last rally in our last area of support and resistance, which was right here. You would go from industry exclusive lines from this major support. Oops. From this, hold on. Not sure what happened there. From this major support level up here. Oh, that's what's going on, to the major resistance level. Resistance top, right? See that top? And then you were coming here, resistance. You didn't know that on the way up. But with the pattern here, top, right? You'd come up to here and then go into a breakout. And that's what got us up there. We don't really want to bring all that up there. But that would get you to $118,000 now on the way up. And a top end potential in this rising channel. And that's why we got the marker there. You can see the moving averages underneath it. I know this gets a little confusing with all these on here, but I just wanted to show you this. We got the VP volume indicator on the right, showing you the local volume here. And you can see where the mean of the volume is in the local time frame. It's sitting at about $103,000. And that's an area that's going to be major support. And that's exactly on where this major consolidation was on here. See that? Oops. So that's something that we're going to have. I love how they have that on there. That's something that we're going to watch on the way down, as it's threatening right now to break out of this rising channel. And you can see all three of these, or two of the three of these tracks that we have in here. And we have dozens and dozens of computer models that run algorithms to put out potential tracks into the future. And these are just a few of them based on past performance and future predicting, and several different things that go into it. And these are just a couple of them that we have on here. but you can see how two of them come down and they want to retest this major area around the $97,000 here in the next week or so, couple of weeks. And that would make sense based on when and if this pattern broke down out of this rising channel that we've been in, right, with the Bitcoin price. And that's what it's threatening to do right now. And if we zoom into the hour time frame, you can see where we're at. You're threatening to break down out of there. And with the VP volume indicator, you can see how now that you've broken through here, the next major uptick in volume is down here at 104 to the $102,000 level at the mean of the local volume here on this most recent pump. So that's going to be very critical there. And then we can even drag that out even farther. See that? That's going to be very critical here for short-term support. And if this does continue to break through and come down and retest that, that's going to be an area that you could expect a short bounce. And then you would expect it to come down to the 50-day moving average. Get out of there. The 50-day moving average, which is at 98,908.18. And then that major mid-ground support just above the 200-day moving average at 97,211.97, an area that we've been talking about ever since it broke above that major resistance level when it made this final leg so far, or the current leg that we're in. You can see right there where we broke above it. And also the track comes down there. But if we zoom out, and that's the short term, and we know where we're at there, but this is a critical time. But you can see three tracks are three different things in the long term, right? And you can see these go out. One of them goes all the way out to 2020, out past the map in the daily time frame. This would be out towards 2030, but you can see it brings a high up here of about $230,000. We have another one that gets out of the gate quicker, up here at 138,000 in June. But notice the one that brings you out to the highest price brings you to the lowest. And would you notice that? It brings you all the way down here to the $32,000 technical move target that we think is possible based on a head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern, right? Oh, I deleted that on accident. We'll have to draw that back. Based on that head and shoulders potential topping out reversal pattern that we think we're in. Look, notice how that one in light blue comes all the way down there, and then that starts the next massive cycle, the next leg, and the next bull market after we have the halvening late 2026 going into 2027. We turn around, we find our bottom, and then we start our uptick going into 2027, 2028. And then we have our massive blow off top going in towards 2029, right? So that's very interesting to watch. But then notice we have our two tracks that are very similar. I'm more in line with this mid-ground one, but I think we're going to come down lower. So I think it's a split. But you can see sort of what I'm thinking. But notice three tracks, three different areas. And then we blend the news, the information, all the technicals with our model that we use. And then we come up with some tracks that we think we like. And that's sort of how we started to come down and we had the great idea with our industry exclusive models that we use and our forecast, along with this mountain double topping action that we had back there. We understood we were coming to $74,000 and had to have a retest. And now we've had an overshoot, which could just be a even bigger mountain double top like last time. Look at this mountain double top reversal pattern. Then you would go there with a technical target, and that would get you down to the same area as a head and shoulders, down to our technical neckline down at 58,000, and then the 32,000 would be your technical move on a mountain double top. But that's where we're at with the Bitcoin price. If we move along, because we can't have too long of an update here. This is just my lunchtime update. I feel like I've been rambling there. This is the XLM price, and you can see I got a couple of these tracks in here, and we got a variety of different ones. You got one that's as high as $3.91. As we go, we're gonna have to go into the monthly time frame to see what year that would be. Bam. We got one that goes as high as $1.66 in 2032, but then we got one that goes all the way up here. Oh, it throws off. Does it throw off when it is? November 2020. No, because when we go back in, the daily time frame, it moves them. See, that's what I don't like. It's the one thing they got to fix. No, is that right? 2026. So this would be August, September. This would be near 2027. 2020, the end of 2026 into 2027 at $3.91 target, right? But as soon as a dollar, it's saying could be made as soon as early 2026. And that's something that we've been following. If we have a continued sell-off the rest of this year, could we bottom out and have a year sell-off from springtime to springtime of 2025 to 2026? Then we're bottoming out, and then we have a ferocious bull market, right? And you can see we have the outliner at the bottom that brings you back all the way to 0.075, and the outliner at the top that takes you essentially from where you're at now straight to $1 by July of, or even sooner than that, by April of 2026 would have you over $1. So these are just tracks that I have there that help me see and give me additional guidance and information that I use to form the track. But we'll doll these out into the background to make this easier for us to see the current XRP or XLM price. You can see we're sitting in the daily time frame with the moving averages squeezing. We're just above the 200-day moving average right now with the red dots there. We're just above that 200-day moving average. As you do know, if we breach the 200-day moving average, as one of the tracks show in the background, actually two of them show at the same exact time going towards this 18 cents, and one actually comes to the 14 cents, as you know, is one of our major targets that we still think are plausible. But you notice this week you have two tracks that trend down, and notice the price has started to trend down. So we'll see if this continues to trend down, and if it in fact does slip the 200-day moving average at 27 cents, that would be a very strong sign that we might be having sometime towards this weekend a retest of a major support level that it bounced off of last week and stayed above it, or about a month and a half ago when we got close to there and started this rally right there and had a pivot swing. It was a very critical bounce. You might be coming back down there if you can't hold the 200-day moving average. And notice how the tracks were all trending down, then the tracks started to trend back up, and now the mean of the tracks are starting to trend back down. And then from there we get a big divergence in the four tracks that I show. You have the outliner that goes in July, a massive rally in July, and brings the XLM price all the way up to a new regional high up here at 70 cents, 80 cents, and then trade sideways for the rest of 2025 going into 2026 before we continue to slip sideways and trade up and down in a range, right? Then we have three other tracks. One goes to the opposite way right now. You can see the divergence in the pink goes the opposite way to 14 cents. The dark blue goes the opposite way and goes straight up to 90, 80 cents. Then you have the two in the middle that continue to trade for the next several months, slowly uptrending before they finally, as we go into 2026, have a pretty substantial pump. One of them you can see goes to 391, which is an obvious outliner, and I am not forecasting. But the other one comes up to what I could see happen, comes all the way back up to 70 cents, 75 cents by the start of 2026. And then obviously the outliner to the downside, which is actually one of the ones that give you the highest pump farther out into the future. I could see that happening too, but I'm in the mid ground of this. I'm thinking we're in the mid ground, and I'm still forecasting and still thinking this is plausible where we come down to the 14 cents, but you can see some more of the reasons behind the madness that I have. And then obviously if we hold in the next month, the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, and we hold this where we're at now, you could shoot straight up to the 40 cents, right? That is very plausible too. And that's a reason that we're showing that. And that is something that the model is showing because it is within the realm of possibility. It's just the least likely of the scenarios right now, but it is still something to pay attention to. And that's why we've been talking about it for quite some time. The XRP is the same thing. You can see, I think what we need to do here is that worked out better, dolling these a little bit, and then we can still tell what they are, but it doesn't take so much of our attention out of there. There we go. Again, we have outliners in here. I just wanted to show you these. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's something that other people don't show you on here. But you can see the outliner in XRP would be the that is never going to happen, but it's on here. I just put it on here to show you the crazy outliners you have when you have dozens and dozens and dozens of scenarios that play out. But you can see the other three show a similar thing of a consolidation and eventual pumps to the upside. You can see one that has a consolidation brings you up here to $3.84 next year, but it brings you down on a consolidation in December of this year to $1.47, which would actually almost hit our technical target. You notice that, but two of the ones actually do hit our technical target, and one of the ones that hit our technical target is actually the second highest one that pumps, but it would take till 2026, 2027. But this one actually brings you up to $8, $9, which is very plausible. And I do see a scenario where this one in the green, we got to change that. This one in the orange, I think might be the most plausible scenario. It's a 3 to 4 year pattern, but on the next leg of the hyper bull run, I could see that one being the most plausible. Although there's pain in the near term because there's a lot of volatility, but there's a classic sell-off, which I don't know if it would go this low, but this would be an obvious area where it would go. About the 86 cents to $1.10 would be your new floor, right? Potentially as low as the 80 cents, 80, 85 cents to about the $1.31, or the technical target being your new floor. And then you have a year and a half consolidation to the downside and profit taking before the next blast off and blow off top to the upside, but would also fall in line with our head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern and our targeted move, right? And you can see the method to the madness on how we come up with some of these targets the same way we thought and we knew in the daily time frame. The 200-day moving average would be a major area where the price would bounce. Notice that 1, 2 of the tracks bounced on the 200-day. The other one, if you notice, on the outliner to the downside, actually came down right to where the wick was, which is very interesting, at $1.61 most recently. And then this one is the one that on the along with the other three of the tracks come up to the 302, right? So this did show the big turnaround here from the swing low, but we thought, and I thought, it would get topped out somewhere around the moving averages. It came up to the 255, and now it's trending down. And just like the XLM price, before I keep chattering about the tracks, you can see if this holds the moving averages, which it's just below the 100-day moving average now, if it stays below that and we can't get above it quickly, you're going to drop all the way down to the $2.06 major underneath neckline support, or $2.09 in purple. The $2.06 is the 200-day moving average, and there should be a retaliation bounce off of there because that is a technical level, and you would expect some kind of a bounce off of there to try to hold that as support again because it's a major support level. So that's something in the immediate short term we're going to be watching. You can see we have two scenarios. You get back on top of the moving averages and you bounce back up to the 255, or you continue down and you're going to have to use the 200-day moving average and the neckline support at $2.09 as your major underneath support. And I want to look at a couple of these. XCN real quick. You can see it's still trading within the same area that it's on. And we got the obvious 0.02274 as your major upper resistance. You got your moving average, the 50-day and the daily that you're holding support on. If you fail to hold that 50-day moving average, you're going to come straight down to the 100-day. And then if you fail that, you would come all the way down to the 200-day moving average. So you got your upper resistance is sitting here at the bottom part of this trading zone, and that pinkish looking zone at the 0.022 if it pumped up to the upside. But if it fails to hold these moving averages, the 50-day and the 100, it would come straight down to the 200-day moving average at 0.01349. The XDC, you can see the moving average is turned down, like what we were talking about. If it got below it in the daily time frame, you would come straight down to your regional low, which is down here at 0.060, and that's where you're going right now. And then now what you're going to look for is, can that hold that bounce? Because the scenario, like we've been talking about, is we've had this head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern that played out back here that we gave you the first mover advantage on during that run, as we got it brought back to our attention by a member of the very important Jabroni Killer member through January, February, March, April, into current time. We let you know that there was a potential, and our target was 0.041, even as the price was moving to the upside and trading within that head and shoulders. And now if you don't get held by this area right here where you're at this local double bottom and bounce back up, you could fall potentially very, very quickly down to here. So this is a very critical time for the XDC, and something that we've been telling you ever since we've had this miniature rally the last several weeks, that this is something that we were looking out for. The same thing is with the DGB. We had the head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern. We had a wick almost to the technical target down here at 0.00586, and then we followed that up with a consolidation, a pennant flag to the sideways, and then we've sort of just traded out of it. And now the moving averages in the daily time frame, like XDC, are starting to trend down slightly in the 50. The 100-day is still running parallel, and the 200-day is running sideways, but the price is sitting, where are we at right now in the current price? The price is sitting, let's get into the hour time frame. The price is sitting right on the 200-day moving average. And this too, if you break the 200-day moving average, you're going to fall very, very quickly straight back down to the 0.00840, which is a major support level in the DGB. So it's a critical time in the coins. This is a critical week in the market. We've been keeping you up to date during this whole pump cycle, consolidation cycle, return rally, and what's been going on. And that's our goal. Peace and love. The Rock's Eyebrow, J.